Hey, with James Grande. Welcome into the Better Baseball MLB DFS Playbook podcast and live stream recording here for Monday's 7-game main slate. James, good way to start the week. 7 games, kind of right in our wheelhouse, and a pretty even slate here in terms of pitching when it comes to matchups for us here. Some good lineups to target and build out today. How we doing, man, coming out of the weekend?
Yeah, happy Monday. Good solid 7-gamer to start the work week. And just a couple podcasts for me and you this week, John.
Yeah.
You and I are both on a slight hiatus, me being slight, you being a long hiatus,
Yes.
taking your honeymoon abroad.
Yeah,
So
I'll be gone for 15 days starting
let's
first.
go. Let's
So
go.
yes,
Um,
I will. Those tuning in will be graced with, the fill-in voices and faces of, Howard Bender and Colby Conway and Dan Malin and Justin Fensterman and Dan Servadidio, Henry Wilson, the whole crew there popping in during the week here. While I'm gone, while James is gone for a few days at the end of this week here. But don't worry, great hands. All of you will be in, but some different voices at least for a little bit here over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, so let's get into it now that everyone knows that you and I are quitting our jobs and I'm just kidding. We're here forever. Let's go into Vegas and take a look over there at some of the totals and money lines we have. There's really, John, nothing significant in terms of money line favorites. The biggest money line favorite as of this recording, and maybe it changes come 5 p.m. Eastern Standard on Monday when we go live for an hour to break down the slate. Minus 140 are the Cincinnati Reds. That is the biggest favorite on the board. Minus 140. Um, Corbin Burns and the Milwaukee Brewers, slight favorites at home. Hunter Brown and the Astros, slight favorites at home against the New York Mets and Max Scherzer. But there's really nothing that stands out at all on this main slate. Let's see if anything stands out in terms of over-unders. We have 9 implied runs in Cubs Pirates, 9.5 implied runs in Reds Rockies. That's it.
Yeah.
That's 7.5 implied runs, and Mets Houston is disgusting. There's not a lot. There's not a lot to like. Now that we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 2 games without anything official. I don't have a total or a spread for Boston, Minnesota, for one reason or another, and I don't have one for Texas, Chicago. That's because Chicago hasn't announced a starter yet. Now we have listed Jesse Schultens going for Chicago, but if you look at what Schultens did, he also relieved Friday and Saturday for the White
Right.
Sox. So I looked at Fangraphs. Fangraphs probable have Schultens listed. MLB.com has nobody listed, so TBD there. Um, Also,
I will say I don't know if the Cincinnati game plays.
is
Uh,
it? Oh, that's so
I'm looking
unfortunate.
at the hourly weather forecast here, and we're looking at 70+% rain. Basically starting at noon, running all the way through 3 a.m. the next morning. 7 p.m. it says thunderstorms. 8 p.m. says scattered thunderstorms. 9 p.m. it says thunderstorms. 10 p.m.'s rain. 11 p.m.'s rain. So it is raining all day, starting at 7 a.m. tomorrow in Cincinnati, with varying degrees of heaviness, but right around the 7 to 8 to 9 o'clock mark here, we got thunderstorms. So
Unlucky.
good chance this game is going to be a no-go.
That's
Now
my
weather
favorite.
changes. Where this weather hits changes. So stay tuned, obviously, to the weather reports. Things are looking fine for Tuesday. So maybe they just throw a double header on there. But yes, something to at least pay attention to for Monday's slate. That Colorado Cincinnati game may not happen.
My favorite game on the board, so that's unfortunate. We'll give analysis based on it being played, but if it doesn't, obviously,
We'll know pretty early on.
yeah,
The
we'll know pretty
first
early.
initial Roth report will come out, and if he's got that thing as red, we'll know
It's curtains. It's
it's
curtains.
curtains exactly. All right, so we got a couple totals here. We got some interesting matchups. Let's jump into pitching here. Talk to me about your favorite pitching on the slate here, James.
to nobody's surprise here, because I will be the first one to pat myself on my back here, and we're gonna go right to you. Didn't. I didn't even finish what I was saying, and you already knew who
I
we were
knew where
picking
we were
on here.
going. I knew
We
where
knew
you
where
were
we were going. Look, again, he's been awesome, and where he's been awesome is one, he pitches deep into pretty much every game. Two, he strikes out a million people every
Yeah.
start. I mean, 8 or more strikeouts in 3 straight, 4 of 6, and his low this year was 5. Like, he's given us 21 fantasy points or more in 5 of the 6 starts. I wish he was getting a little more run support to get this guy some wins during these starts, because
Yeah.
he has 2 wins on the year in 6 starts, but um he just continues to be great. And we've talked about Minnesota ad nauseum all year long when it comes to left-handed pitching, and nothing's changed. 27.6% strikeout rate is the second highest mark in the league, and you're going up against a guy. And I'm not going to go off maybe a little bit down the road further than 6 starts into his campaign, but closing in on being considered an elite strikeout arm at
Oh
this
yeah.
point. I mean, dude, when you can strike this many people out consistently, Cleveland, not a strikeout team, struck 9 out. Like St.
Yeah.
Louis, not a team that strikes out a lot, 9 in his debut. So this
Yeah.
feels like another game where James Paxton's going to have
Yeah.
a massive ceiling.
And things lately for Minnesota, even a little bit worse. 29.4% strikeout rate against left-handed pitching, a 180 batting average, a 243 WOBA, and a 135 ISO. All pretty much bottoms of the league against left-handed pitching here over the last 2 weeks. So, yeah, on the year, Minnesota sucks against left-handed pitching. Lately, Minnesota sucks against left-handed pitching. And what do we say? Like, getting Byron Buxton back in that lineup actually isn't an improvement for them against lefties, because he's not hitting them this year. So I'm with you here. You know, I was skeptical, to say the least, on James Paxton, because he was getting absolutely rocked during his rehab starts, and it was like an extensive amount of rehab innings that he was throwing, and it just not looking good for him at AAA, coming off of missing all of last year. People were hammering Chaim Bloom for the signing because he opted in and we were paying this guy a bunch of money. We didn't think we'd ever see any return for it. Fingers crossed, because obviously, you know, he's Mr. Glass, but looking like the James Paxton of like 4 years ago, right? So we'll see. But I'm with you here. He's going to probably be the highest rostered pitcher of the slate.
Yep.
He should be higher than $9,300, considering he was just $9,300 and all he did was 6 innings of shutout baseball with 8 Ks. The wins, to your point, are factual, and we'll see if Boston can score, because they're going up against Pablo Lopez here, who has definitely been hittable lately. But another guy
like
that
it's like up and down, because he's been
Yeah.
really good in 2 straight starts. He was really bad against Cleveland, Toronto.
Right. So, you know, can't hit him. He's at home. Worst ERA for him at home this year, over 5.88 ERA at home. So, you know, maybe Boston comes through here, but Boston's offense has been much better at their home ballpark this year, as they showed the Yankees this weekend. You know, so we'll see what happens if they go back on the road, if those struggles continue there. So I'm with you there. I like Paxton a ton. I'll also go to Merrill Kelly here. I know that I was fading him against Philadelphia. He was my fade on that slate. 6 innings, 3 earned, 7 strikeouts. You know, the walks are still a little concerning for me. 4-2, 3-2-2 the last 4 starts for him, but hard to argue with the results, really. Again, he didn't get much run support in that game, so got a no decision. Still gave you 17 fantasy points, threw over 100 pitches. The strikeouts have been nice for Merrill Kelly here. He has like some regression indicators, but like it's marginal. It's not a ton. I just wasn't really big on the matchup necessarily for him here, but I'm fine going against Milwaukee right now. Like, they strike out a ton still against right-handed pitching, and their offense is kind of hit or miss at times against righties here. Over the last 2 weeks, though, much more miss. 30.1% strikeout rate, 140 ISO, 284 WOBA, 213 batting average. So this feels like another high strikeout game coming from Merrill Kelly.
Yeah, and you know, like we were talking about Milwaukee earlier in the year, they're 21st overall in OPS against right-handed pitching. Like, so they've really taken a dive. They were top 10 the first couple months of the year, or hovering around that point. So really a fall from grace there. 24.7% strikeout rate overall. Merrill Kelly, I'm not
Road
going to
sport
say
for
this.
him
Look,
too.
dude, he's like got weird Framber vibes from last year. Like, even in his bad starts or like 3 earned runs, like
Yeah.
6 innings still, he's still like giving you no start this year where he hasn't given you double digit fantasy points. Not one. Every start
Yeah.
this year has been double digit fantasy points.
Yep. And he's getting wins too.
And
He's
he's
eight
getting
and
a
three.
lot of wins. I mean, the
So,
Diamondbacks are winning. The
yeah.
Diamondbacks are winning a lot of games right now.
Yeah. So I love Merrill Kelly. I love James Paxton. I probably start builds on this slate with those two because there isn't really a ton of good value that I think we've, at least for now, realized. We'll see if anything changes on this slate. DraftKings has been known to throw us for a loop at times with who's actually starting and who isn't starting here, but I don't know. I mean, Waka's been a guy we've gone to, but he's got San Francisco, not always the greatest spots for him. Heaney, we've gone to at times this year. A lot of
Yeah.
strikeouts. Wild hasn't been pitching deep into games really lately. He's got Chicago, whose offense is maybe coming around. Smiley versus Pittsburgh, but they got some guys that hammer lefties. I mean, is there a value play on this slate that you're comfortable going to?
Yeah, I like Waka. I know San Francisco has been good, but Waka has arguably been as good as anybody. And I said it against in that Cleveland start. Like, it's not that I think that he can continue being this, because this is crazy. Like, this is as good as he's ever pitched. I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking about since May 2nd. This is a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 start sample where he hasn't allowed more than 2 earned, and 5 of the 8 starts he hasn't allowed an earned run. Like, this is crazy for Michael Wacha. It's not like he's like a spring chicken. He's like coming off a subpar season with the Red Sox. Like, he's hasn't been this good. So, like, obviously to see him pitch this well is a little intriguing, or a little like, I'm a little skeptical, but he's been good. He's striking people out at a pretty decent clip. He's pitching in a good ballpark in San Francisco. Like,
Yep.
and again, I understand San Francisco's offense has been good, and they got healthy, and they called up Ramos, and Ramos has been good since getting called up.
Yeah. Last 2 weeks, again, small sample size, right? But more sample size against righties than we generally see lefties. San Francisco, just a 22% strikeout rate, a 12% walk rate. So we're used to seeing them strike out a lot. That number's coming down. 167 ISO, 341 WOBA, sixth in the league. So, like you mentioned, not the easiest walk in the park for lack of a better term here, but sometimes good pitching just beats good hitting too. And the way Waka's been pitching lately, that could certainly be the case here.
Yeah. I don't know where else to go. That's the thing.
Well,
You mentioned the
that's
Heaney.
it, right? There's
I think there's
really much.
if there's not going to be rain, I'm willing to go to Brandon Williamson. Let me back up. There's obviously going to be rain, but if they delay the game to where they're just playing a late start, Colorado's 29th in OPS against left-handed pitching. They have a 26% strikeout rate against left-handed pitching. I understand Brandon Williamson hasn't been great, but his bad starts were the Dodgers at home, the Cubs in Wrigley, which, I don't remember if it was a wind start or not. Like, obviously that could have been the case. And then every other start's been but 5 2/3 his debut in Coors, he looked really good. He looked really good against Milwaukee, who's a bad team against left-handed pitching, and against left-handed pitching. I'm looking for something. Only other name I would, not even a value play, but just to add to our player pool, is Pablo Lopez. I would use him against the Red Sox. Also, DraftKings updated the Mania thing. So if you do an update, I'm sure you'll see it too. Fangraphs has Disclafani listed as the starter.
Okay.
DraftKings did this thing where they're giving us. All right, so it's actually official. So Ryan Walker is going to open the game. That's official.
Okay.
I guess Manaea is going to be the long reliever, but he just threw 3 2/3 3 days ago.
3 days ago.
So we're probably in it for the long haul in terms of a bullpen game for San Francisco.
Okay. Any interest in Beto then in this spot?
Yeah, I mean, the Cubs are really bad right now against right-handed pitching. The only saving grace is Christopher Morel is seemingly back hitting home runs against
Yeah.
everyone. So that's a worry. But yeah, Osvaldo Bido, don't like to see 91 pitches in 4 innings. I'll tell you that. I do like to see 91 pitches though.
I like
So
seeing 6 strikeouts,
I like seeing 6 strikeouts and 91 pitches, right?
he
I like
just, I mean,
seeing.
he's facing the Cubs again, second straight start against Chicago. So
Sure, I can. He'll probably garner some ownership at 56 if
Cubs
like
23.7% strikeout rate on the year, eighth highest against right-handed pitching this season. 312 WOBA, 242 batting average on the year. And again, there's some guys on the Pirates that can hit lefties, so maybe they get to Smiley here and get him a spot to take a lead or not. 091 ISO the last 2 weeks against right-handed pitching.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. I'm
Okay.
fine with it.
Okay, let's go on over to hitters then. Talk to me about your favorite hitters on the slate.
So if we're going to get this dude starting, Schultens for the
Yeah.
White Sox, and he's listed. He was really bad at AAA. He worked as a starter primarily. 10 starts versus 6 relief appearances. So we'll see. Maybe they used him to. Maybe this was like a
He pitched
in
yesterday.
between. Yeah. He pitched twice. He pitched back to back
Yeah.
days. Maybe
He's
this
got
was
the
like
opening, right? Like,
no. I mean, they were using him as a starter in AAA, and like during in between. So his last outing, I guess not his last out. Yeah, his last outing at AAA, his last 2 outings. No, they use him as a starter.
well, I'm saying like the fact that he's just pitched 2 innings in 2 days. Would they actually have him? I mean, he might start, but like, is he gonna
Well,
throw long enough? Is he
could
gonna
it
go?
be? Could it be they used that was like his in between pitch sessions? Like those, that was his bullpens. Those were his like
Maybe.
because
Maybe.
he made his last start at AAA on the 11th. Then he makes, 5 days later, he makes an appearance and then he actually got the save, John. He got the save on on
That's what I'm
Saturdays.
saying. It doesn't make sense.
Okay, well, so we'll see what's going to happen.
Let's see if FanDuel has the same thing over there.
If Schultens is the starter, because I do see him listed on Fangraphs as the probable.
Okay.
We'll see if that remains true. MLB.com doesn't have it. Corey Seager and Nathaniel Lowe pop out right away. Schultens has not been good against left-handed bats this year. 758 OPS allowed at the AAA level. 4 home runs allowed.
No starter.
So I'd go
for
no starter. Okay. They'll like add somebody. DraftKings just has to throw somebody in there. They're forced to. Honestly, they probably just go off what the Fangraphs page is. I like Seager and Lowe and Nathaniel Lowe if Sultan's is starting. Jonathan India and Spencer Steer, if that game takes off, Austin Gomber is opposing them. We know how bad Austin Gomber is. I know he pitched fairly well in the start against the Red Sox in Fenway. But I'm just tired of using the Red Sox against lefties. I'm using the Red Sox against righties, and that's really what it's going to come down to. Unless it's Rob Refsnyder, who apparently is the best player ever against lefties. He had like 30 fantasy points that day. But Austin Gomber still 381 WOBA allowed to righties, 484 WOBA allowed to lefties. So I'm perfectly fine. India has hit for a lot of power lately, and Spencer Steer is good against lefties, and then Jose Altuve. So Max Scherzer splits this year, John, fully terrible against righties. 860 OPS allowed, 363 WOBA allowed to right-handed bats. Jose Altuve hitting 345 with a 447 WOBA against right-handed pitching. So I like the 2 Reds, the 2 Rangers, and Jose Altuve in the infield.
I like that.
At least that's my top list.
I mean, I think all of that sort of plays out to where I was looking at as well. I mean, I was just in on the Rangers in general. Those
per usual, per usual.
I mean, per year, played them again tonight. Nobody played the Rangers. Nobody played against Chris Bassett, even though we just talk about lefty bats against Chris Bassett. Leody Taveras homered. Corey Seager had a monster day. Nathaniel, not so much, but Jonah Heim, big day for Jonah Heim from the left side of the plate.
Right.
So, not that we're talking about Chris Bassett here, but just the Rangers offense in general, just absolute heaters here. We talk about guys on Pittsburgh for some value. If they're lefties on the mound there, Connor Joe, Rodolfo Castro, two guys that we're certainly going to be looking to key in on there. So that's kind of where I'm at. If this Cincinnati game does go off, you have Gomber on the mound. Obviously, we can go guys like McLean, Newman, that whole crew there in Cincinnati. So definitely some good options at the top. What other value guys are you taking a peek at? Anybody else I haven't mentioned yet?
Yeah, Carlos Santana, one more Pirate that I'd mention. He's been hitting lefties really well. He's hit for a lot of power lately, too. 3 home runs in his last few games. And then Jake Berger. And I know we've turned into the Jake Berger fan club here. And it's not just because I'm so happy that he hit home run the day that
You're touting him,
touting him, but 395 WOBA and 5 home runs against left-handed pitching this year. Again, he just has insane power. And if that's what we're talking about when it's versus Andrew Heaney, that's Andrew Heaney allows a lot of power. That's where Andrew Heaney has struggled his whole career. So I like Jake Berger.
No, I'm with you there. All right, let's move on then over to the outfield here. Top outfielders on this slate. If we think Manaea comes into this game, Tatis, right? $6,300. Sure. I know Manaea.
Even
these numbers, dude, are just insane.
Even if Manaea's not coming into this game, you could just get to this guy.
Yeah, he's been an absolute animal. 51 games, 14 homers, 12 stolen bases already on the year. Just some pretty crazy production. I don't care. Corbin Burns is pitching. I'll go to Corbin Carroll. 333, 1227, 846. He'll either hit home runs or he'll steal bags. He's got 15 and 19 on the year. Absolute elite play here. Just talent on talent on talent all day. So if I'm looking up at the top, those are the two I'm looking to plug in up over 5K.
Yep. I largely agree. You can get to Kyle Tucker, especially when he's on this on heaters. He's such a streaky player. The only thing, it's been crazy. It's been crazy. He can do this, right? This is why he's drafted every year as a top first pick, or he's a first round pick every year, or second round pick every year, because he's he's going to end with 30 and 20. It's been slow this year, but we're getting going. He is a very streaky player, so righties are what have given Scherzer problems. But if you want to play an Astro stack, by all means, I'm going back to Christopher Morel. Truthfully, bars again, he's hitting for power again. Yeah, it's and John, look at the strikeouts over the last 10 games, 5. So if he's going to cut down on strikeouts, that's all we can ask for. If he's putting the ball in play,
40 home runs this year. Honestly, if he stays in the lineup, could do it.
If he could hit. I will say he ends third. We're almost in July, so 40 feels.
He'll have to hit 27 over the next 100 games.
If he had let's monitor this. If he has a big July,
he'll have to hit 27 over the next 90 games.
If he hits 10 in July, then I'll give it to you. Then maybe we're cooking with something. But anyways, he hit
9 in 10 games to begin the season. So.
True, this is true. This is very true. So I'm going to Morel. If you want to even play Bellinger and pair them, Bellinger's back. He hasn't looked great. He ended kind of low in the lineup. You can go there if you'd like. I like Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert against the power allowing Andrew Heaney. And then I had Juan Soto written down when DeSclafani was the original starter. I'm a little indifferent. The opener for the Giants is really good, and if it's Manaea, he's not hitting lefties well, so I'd probably pivot off that. But there's a lot of really good value.
Since the game plays, Spencer Steer homered again today. Nick Senzel has good OPS and ISO numbers against lefties. He's right down there in the middle. Hap better side from the left or the right? I forget.
I believe it's the right this year. I'll pull it up.
But Grichuk's 39. He would get a lefty in Cincy. We'd be there if that game played. Profar, same thing. If that game played, we'd be in.
Hap 280, 360 WOBA against lefty. So he's hitting them He's hitting them well this year. Him and Say both.
That. Connor Joe, as you talked about at first base,
righties,
also outfield eligible at $3,300. In a good spot there. looking for value. Anything popping for value for you?
Yeah, Leody,
Oh,
Leody Taveras for
yeah.
sure. Lefty, he's a switch hitter. Chas McCormick hits righties well. That's where Scherzer has struggled this year. I would get
I
to
would just name
Chas.
blind to Leotis. We've been playing him like every slate.
Yeah, every slate, and he's been incredible. And then how about Jake McCarthy, dude? He is back. $2,700,
Homering off Bieber
stealing
last
bases,
night.
homering off Bieber. Which, if you've been listening to the show, we've been telling you all year that lefties are having no issues with
Yeah.
Bieber, and he gives up a home run to McCarthy and Corbin Carroll like a
Yeah.
few batters later. So if McCarthy's going to do this every day, and I know he went 0 with 3 Ks on Sunday, but even with that 0 for 343 over his
Yeah.
last 10, I love the price tag for McCarthy.
I'm guessing, see, not Gavin Sheets there because he's a lefty. Let's see.
They called the 29-year-old up, John. He's an infielder. Remilliard.
Okay.
If you wanted to get to him, he went 3 for 3 in his debut with 2 RBIs, and he's 29 years old. He plays first and third. You
You
can
play
play him,
Tachman?
and yeah,
He's still
Tachman's
yeah.
going to lead up, and he's leading. He's
Yeah,
leading
makes no
off for
sense.
them. Like, I mean, he led off the game with
I
a home
know.
run on Sunday. I played Dean Kramer. Dean Kramer had a very, very good start, but like was upset that the leadoff
Luis
hitter
Matos,
went
I'd still
deep.
play. That's been good. He's been
Yes,
really
agreed.
good. Jesse Winker's back. Better news for Merrill Kelly.
It sure is.
Sure
It
is.
sure is.
All right. Give me your home run call of the evening.
My home run call, if the game plays, is going to be Spencer Steer. And my tops, I'll just rattle them off since we're running down. My top stack is going to be the Reds. My contrarian stack, I'm going to go White Sox. Star of the night, Jonathan India. And my value play of the night is going to be Leody.
Okay. I can't believe you took Spencer Steer home run. That is impressive. My home run call, because he's my guy. He's
Yeah, but you let
I
me go
did.
first. You could just go first and take
all
Spencer
right.
Steer.
My home run call is going to be Seager here against the White Sox. My top stack will be the Rangers. My contrarian stack will be the Pirates. My value play will be Rodolfo Castro. My star of the night is going to be Corey Seager. Let's carry it.
Shocker.
Going on there. All right, let's build a lineup. Got a couple minutes left. Paxton and who?
Right.
Kelly?
Paxton. Yeah, that works.
Catcher. Let's see. What's our value? What's our value down here? Do we have a value catcher? Carson Kelly just punted 2,300?
Yeah. Or Yainer Diaz, who is getting a righty who struggles against righties, and Yainer Diaz is hitting righties.
I can do Yainer. What's his price tag?
29.
I don't even know his name.
Unless you wanted to play
29. First base. Do you want to plug Connor Joe in there?
It's Joe or Santana for me.
See
probably.
What we can do for this. There. We liked Rodolfo. Did you have a second baseman other than Rodolfo you wanted to plug?
It's Altuve or India.
Yeah. I really don't think that game's gonna play. I know we're building it like it is. Let's go Rodolfo because we like him anyways. Third base, they're 4,300 to play here. So I like Seager. What was your home run call? Steer. So we got to use Steer, I guess, in the outfield.
In the outfield, yeah.
36-6. I'll do the Yodi.
Play Jake Burger. Jake Burger out there.
That works. Burger. The Yodis.
Eloy is $4,000.
There it is. There's an example lineup for everybody there with a double spend up pitcher: James Paxton, Merrill Kelly, Yanier Diaz, Connor Joe, Rodolfo Castro, Jake Burger, Corey Seager, Spencer Steer, Leotis Taveras, and Eloy Jimenez. We got a double, like a bunch of 2 stacks. 2 stacks Pittsburgh, 2 stacks Chicago, 2 stacks Texas, 1 off Cincy, and 1 off Houston. James and I will be back live at 5 o'clock Eastern for everybody to go over the main slate. And if you haven't heard already, the Fantasy Football Draft Guide is live on site. Go to fantasy.com/draft guide. Get it today, $26.99, or get it free with a subscription. Go to fantasy.com/all-pro. Promo code MLB50 saves you 50% off the first 6 months, and it comes with a 7-day free trial, access to all content on site, and premium Discord, and now the Fantasy Football Living Draft Guide. James and I again. We'll be back later. We'll talk to you then.